Hey, welcome to Taking It Down, the TV and streaming podcast from the working class folk at the Alabama Take. We come to you once a week with spoiler-free section that begins the podcast that you can use as a recommendation guide, and then with spoilers after a short break, so you will not hear what could ruin the show for you, not at the beginning. This week, Adam, Donovan, and I are discussing House of the Dragon and its third season through episode 5, and the film Warfare, which is streaming on HBO Max as well. Let's get into the discussion, and to do so, let me get Adam and Donovan into the show.
Alabama Take projection.
All right, we're all here. It's me, it's Adam, it's Donovan, and we should look and sound really refreshed. 2 weeks off for a break. We're back now in our weekly slot. If you're not a follower, listener, subscriber, take a second, press pause on this episode, go to the show in your app, and hit the plus sign or follow sign or subscribe. And that way you can see us every Tuesday morning and you can make your decision on if the shows are right for you. But we do start with non-spoilers every week. So you can listen to that part every week if you wanted. Does anyone want to share what they did for summer break?
Today, I found what was left of a squirrel in my backyard, and I put it in my trash can. That was my summer break.
R.I.P.
It had clearly been there for a while.
It's probably what got into my HVAC system.
Yeah.
When I went without air for about 3 or 4 days.
We got that problem solved, though.
Yeah, it's solved. It should be. Those not in Alabama, you know that's rough stuff. We'll get into some television then. If you're expecting more from Lucky on Apple TV, maybe temper some expectations. Lucky is a bit of a crime caper that stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Annette Bening, and Timothy Olyphant. I wish I could say great things about it because that sounds kind of great, but I can't. I'll point out some good things about it. It's a role that Olyphant can do in his sleep. He's one of the few who actually clocks in for the work. Not to say that they're not doing good acting. It's just he's really good. He isn't front and center either. It's a Anya Taylor-Joy led series, but Olyphant seems to be the one that's doing really great acting that evokes actual responses from him. The others are fine, but he's excelling. I think he's excelling these days anyway. And I've mentioned to you both that the first episode was entertaining enough, albeit really heavy with tropes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes there's just no way around those. However, the second episode had several too. I don't think it's doing a lot that's fresh despite some of the stars involved. It's not that you don't care about the characters. That is a good thing. You kind of do. But their situation is fairly banal. Makes you kind of shrug at it. It's an okay show.
Yeah.
Great one. Serialized television for laundry. I think it really fits that. I watch SNL during laundry on many Sundays. And this is I'm going to do some chores around the house. I need something on, or I like to have TV on. I think you could probably follow it pretty easily with that. If you miss a scene or two, I don't think you're going to be ruined. I wish there was more. You know, it seems like those are really big stars who could do great things with a good script, but the writing is just so-so.
That's your opinion is in line with pretty much every other review I've seen of it, too, where it's just pedestrian at best.
Yeah. But for us, as a group, we're going to talk about House of the Dragon. Longtime listeners know we don't spoil anything here. We have a few episodes to talk about if we want to in broad terms. So we can really focus on that most recent one. It's probably the most fresh on our minds. But we also have that one, Tumbleton, before Unbound and Unbent from last week. This series still shuts out the outside world for me. You know, when I'm watching it, I want to watch it in one big, long sitting, and I don't care what's going on anymore outside. That's a step in the right direction. Just say that it's good, you know, when it's on. I'm so lost in the production, you know, it just feels like you're there. It's like a Star Wars used to feel with its first 3. It feels palpable.
It doesn't hurt that I think at this point we're really used to the actors too. So to the point where it's like, okay, yeah, I know you. I know what you're doing.
Yeah. And unless I'm missing something, I'm just off base. I think the characters' reactions to their situations, as fantastical as the situations sometimes are, they feel emotionally relevant, emotionally real.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pretty big fan of this season. and I know that it's had some slower episodes, probably on purpose.
I continue to be a really big fan of a role that I wasn't sure was proper, which is Matt Smith, when it was first announced, which is Matt Smith as Daemon, because, he's a detestable human being. Like, he's a really bad person. But
on the show.
On the show, yeah. Well, Matt Smith, too.
Not Matt Smith. We don't know him. But he seems cool.
But with Matt Smith playing him, you kind of forget that he's actually that bad of a guy. You're like...
Has there ever been a role more suited for the term rascal?
You really are like, oh, murdered his wife. He's such a scamp.
I was waiting for Donovan to use the word scamp, honestly, and I was going to do it if he didn't.
He is a scamp, flitting around on his dragon.
You're right. He's nailing this role. He may be stealing the season, but Emma Darcy's so good too.
I said that to Beth today and she's like, it's why he was so good as Prince Philip in The Crown. And I'm like, you know what? Like, yes, he's kind of irritating and petulant, but he's such a lovable little scamp that you're like, you see why Elizabeth keeps him around.
He was good in that.
He was very good.
I think the easiest, and I hadn't forgotten about that role, but yeah, like you obviously want to compare it to Doctor Who.
Yeah.
He has played the complex character. I almost wonder if I haven't read the source material, but is he too good? Like, am I rooting for him too much at this point in the show?
I've worried about that.
I mean, we get into spoilers, I think, before I'll fully expand that. He seems to just be outpacing everybody else. And there's other good actors on this show, of course, but he's so good.
He's very good. He really is. He definitely, I mean, I'm just speculating about his career, but it's interesting how he's really taken roles that are very different from the Doctor, especially since he got the Doctor as a fairly young role and was good at it. Was good pretty much in everything he's ever been in, but it seemed almost kind of consciously not to want to go and repeat that again.
Right, but these two, not that Philip is like this, I don't know, sociopathic dragon riding warrior, but a complex guy with a complex relationship to power. That's a good call, Beth.
Yeah, as soon as she brought it up, I was like, I just haven't thought about that role in years. He was fantastic. And I do honestly wonder if whoever was casting for Game of Thrones had The Crown in mind, casting him for this role. I see the parallels.
Do you think Netflix ever, in any meeting, floated the idea of there being a dragon in The Crown?
They missed an opportunity.
Look, they couldn't even put the fucking Suez Crisis in the Crown properly, much less a dragon.
Yeah, but dragons get viewers.
Besides House of the Dragon, we're going to talk some about the Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza film Warfare, which is also streaming on HBO Max. It's the 2025 movie which stars Will Poulter, Cosmo Jarvis, Joseph Quinn, Michael Gandolfini, Charles Melton, and others. I'm forgetting. They're a platoon of Navy SEALs who are involved in what becomes a pretty dangerous mission in Iraq. Noted for being a film that only uses the soldiers' accounts and recreating it for production. Donovan, the one thing I kept returning to when I watched this is how sad it is that every generation or more needs a good reminder of how devastating and scary war can be.
Yeah.
This is what's the Civil War book I'm blanking on?
Red Badge of Courage.
Yeah, this is the Red Badge of Courage, except in Iraq.
It surprised me. I'll say more about why it surprised me in spoilers, but I'll agree with you. Similarly, I think it works as a movie and it works as its project, but I'm also interested in what we as viewers take to it with our own feelings about that war. I was just reading a New York Times article with one of the reporters went back to Afghanistan. He'd been a sniper, Marine sniper in Afghanistan. He said he knew he'd killed at least 7 people. And he was going back to Afghanistan to talk with this guy who had been a Taliban commander, and they'd been fighting against each other. Like he realized that they'd been in the area. And one of the things the Taliban commander asked him about was why so many U.S. veterans struggle with suicide. The things that this guy, out of his own experience, was saying he said, it got to the point for many people where like we couldn't figure out how what we were doing was making America any more safe or free. you're home and you deal with that for the rest of your life. So that's kind of the interesting baggage too. There's almost like a double tragedy of these soldiers in incredible danger, and at the same time being like, why are they in incredible danger? You know, it's without being overtly political. I always think there's a political message in something like that. Even if the message is no more than consider what you are doing and consider what the human cost is when we commit soldiers to war or when we make war on others.
Yeah. Did you think it was good? Do you
Yes,
recommend it?
I did. Not a spoiler. I loved when it ends, it goes to black and then it hits into a Low song. I love Low. It was a great surprise for me, but I thought the movie itself was good. I would recommend it. I would recommend it while saying, if you watch it and don't like it or aren't captivated by it, I understand that too, because I do think that it's so particular a movie that it's not universal. It's not for everyone, probably.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with all that. In fact, I don't have much more to add, which in that case, let's just take our break. And on the other side, we will get into spoilers for both House of the Dragon, a few episodes maybe, as well as the streaming movie Warfare. Social media has made it nearly impossible for you to see all that you followed or liked. But that's not the case with Alabama Take. Now you can subscribe to the newsletter, which you'll receive almost weekly, and features a quirky story as well as a recap of all that's happened on the site and the podcast. While you wait for today's podcast episode of Taking It Down to return, hit up the show notes and subscribe to the newsletter. Okay, we're back from break. We will begin the spoiler section with a customary trip to Westeros on our dragons. It's House of the Dragon's 5th season. Mainly, we'll bring up things from Unbent and Unbroken, that 5th episode. But just know there's a couple of episodes we could very well spoil, such as the one before it, Tumbleton, might kind of bleed into this discussion. Before we begin with Unbent and Unbroken, do you have any lingering thoughts on Tumbleton since we missed a couple weeks here? I think the only two threads that do not pick up in Unbent and Unbroken, that don't just follow through, is that Ulf is telegraphing his death.
Yes.
He's coming in there and going, they're protesting. Yeah, I'm doing a horrible Ulf, but that's what he said. Daemon brings in a sheep herder's head instead of his daughter Bela's for riding sheep stealer. That doesn't really pick up in Unbent and Unbroken. Those are just about the only two.
I'm not sure if it was supposed to be funny. I don't think it was. Where Daemon is arguing with Bela, and then all of a sudden, like, you kind of see like the sheep, the shepherd down there. It's like that guy was instantly dead.
I'm such a dunce. I was thinking, why does he look down there? Who is that guy? Is he another king?
It made me laugh because I'm like, yep, Daemon is who he is. The only thing I'll say about Tumbleton, beyond plot, is that I'm really enjoying James Norton as Ormond. I just love I'm loving what he's doing. I've seen him in other things, and I like him. So it was exciting to see him here, and like he's clearly reveling being the villainous.
What's he been in? Because I've seen him, I swear.
He's been in all sorts of things. He was even in like a mystery where he played what was that called? He played a vicar who solves mysteries. It was on PBS, of course. Sydney Chambers, that's what it was.
Oh, cool. You were talking about funny. The two things that I mentioned were both a little bit funny. Off coming in and going, hey, I got some buds down at the bar. You mind letting them off? Can they just not pay their taxes this week or whatever he was asking? That's pretty funny shit.
Ulf is hilarious.
He's like Norm from Cheers coming up to the Queen.
I think like the premise for him was like, what if just like an average schmuck got everything that he got? And was just like...
And absolutely failed to rise to the occasion.
Right.
Yeah, it is a pretty much... If the show were from his point of view, it would be a comedy. Besides Old Town, who almost rule themselves, we get some information on Dorne. They aren't part of the kingdom. What else does this title allude to for you? It's called Unbent and Unbroken. Am I getting that right? Unbent and Unbroken, yeah. Because there's like a third term. Sometimes they'll throw in there. Unbowed, Unbent, and Unbroken.
For me, that title does not bode well for Sir Criston, based on what we saw at the end, as he gives a rousing speech about the Seven. That was my other thought, is that it refers to Sir Criston. or at least how he thinks of himself.
I was going to, the distance between how he thinks of himself and the reality that has played out. You talking about people telegraphing things, him saying, I'm the greatest warrior in the... As he leads a failed guerrilla warfare antagonistic campaign. They can't even cross a river.
I mean, I assume we're supposed to think this, but it's like they get to that point, like they have like no provisions or anything. Like Kristen, based on his actions and what he wants to do, is stopping any chance of this being a useful force, right? Like, men need food to fight, like they need food to march. They don't have anything.
Now the one guy just dropping in the field, in the marsh. Like, leave him. Everybody else looked pretty healthy at that point for one guy just to fall out.
It could have been dysentery.
Could have been. You'll get that. I mean, I guess they have horse meat now, at least.
It's true.
Donovan, you're right about that. The men have to eat. It's very similar to the argument Damon was making was, you got to pay these guys.
Yeah.
You got to pay these guardsmen or they're not going to guard anything.
It's not even that novel at this point, but I do kind of, like, it helps keep me more in the world where it's like, okay, yes, these are guys that like fly around on fantastic dragons, but like people still need to eat, right? Like there's still political consequences for things they do. Like dragons can't really take and hold territory. You need armies to do that. So it kind of adds this other layer of like, instead of them just being superheroes, like the complications kind of make it interesting for me, at least. The Targaryen dragons are basically a metaphor for U.S. policy in Vietnam under Kissinger and Nixon when they increased bombings to try and get the North Korean or the North Vietnamese to the negotiating table without committing troops. That is why I am declaring Tumbletown the new Hanoi.
Because they're not going to bomb it?
It's not going to work. They got to send in ground troops.
Mm-hmm. That's a big deal. Unbent and Unbroken reminded us all of Christian Cole, of course. A lot of telegraphing of who's going to die, but I think the interesting thing that they're doing is going and giving us that, but we don't know the when, by whose hand, how's Christian Cole going to die? Is Daemon going to catch him? Is it going to be at a battle in Tumbleton? Will he ever make it to Tumbleton?
Yeah.
I think that happens a lot here. Daemon, I mean, he pretty much has predicted his own death, saw it, or thinks he's going to die at Harrenhal. Well, who's there? Aemond. We're thinking there's got to be a battle between the two. Is that what's going to happen? That kind of thing is a nugget enough to keep me interested without spoiling anything, without just beating you over the head too much with it.
One thing with Cole that I think is paying off now is they used him to really show the horror of the dragons early on. I thought, like when you saw them in both the original series and now this, there's that moment where like the dragons enter the battlefield and it's like, it is their nuclear weapon going off and everything that you thought you've understood so far. He's been a jaded, broken guy since then. He's a different man, and the payoff of having him, this feels very earned to me that he hasn't really been in this season a whole lot. And now you can kind of laugh at him at the end of this episode saying, well, to die was actually the whole point. That's why I made all these blunders. But if you just think this is a man broken to nihilism, then everything he does kind of makes sense. And that's a good reaction to the situation. Yeah.
That he's been marked ever since that. I was basically what Adam said is exactly what I was thinking. Like it feels like a big payoff from season 2 or from season 2 onwards. It really good.
There are moments where, we had an episode where Rhaenyra is basically just like having to, the whole episode was like, oh, holding the crown is tougher than taking it. But from like a bureaucratic standpoint, I was like, oh my God, this is like watching paint dry. This is terrible. I wasn't into that. So there are...
Do you mean this season's episode?
Yes. Yeah. I've never been more bored by an episode of Game of Thrones. But
You're talking about the one where she's having to deal with everybody's request and on top of like having her period and having to deal with surprises here and there. Is that episode? Yeah,
I did. I thought that was so heavy-handed in what it was trying to say that it was just like, it's both boring and not very strong writing. And there are moments where I think that they bring fairly modern concerns to, say, like the small council meetings. And they're like, well, the argument this time of like, there's the out of touch guy talking about, oh, flea bottom, whatever. And then you have other people arguing essentially for taking care of the people versus putting out a show of force. But and it's like, okay, whatever. But the Cole's reaction to a nuclear bomb going off, that to me feels like very earned modern day intrusion, if that makes sense. Whereas some of these other ones, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, we get it.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's more of a make you feel, don't make you think. I'm trying to think of what's the robot devil in Futurama. He's like, your characters can't just say what they feel. That makes me feel angry.
Unbent and Unbroken also reminds me of Ormond. He's from Old Town, the town that really doesn't, they kind of govern themselves anyway. But he's also in control of this king whom he claims to serve in Darien, but he's very much in control of him. He's not bending to this guy. It's Jason Norton playing Ormond, and I thought that was well done to show. He has this very similar smirk that Damon has, but his smirk is more of, I've got a king, but I'm really in control.
Oh, the kid is doing a good job of playing as being terrified of Ormond.
Oh yeah, and I would be too.
So there's such a hint of menace underneath it all. You like it hasn't gone poorly so far, but every interaction you're just like, is he gonna snap? Like
yeah. Oh, he loses at the chess game or whatever they're playing, and that the tension again that felt like very deserved. You're like this dude's gonna do anything.
Yeah, don't apologize for winning. He tells him.
Yeah, like you see flashes of like Theon and Reek in a way. Like obviously it hasn't been taken to that point, but just the control and like terror from one.
Like both times, right? Like he's afraid of, in this episode, he calls basically the history's boring, and then he quickly marches it back when Ormond says with one word, like just says dry, and he has to take it. That's how scared this kid is.
Let's talk about some of those out in the field people with the Riverland and Northmen. They're the ones encountering the burned bridges, literally burned bridges. But it does give us another quick opportunity to see the River Kid, as I've been calling him mentally. It's Lord Tully, I know, but I just keep thinking River Kid. He's matured well beyond his years, would imply. I think it too hints that the Northmen are a lot more savage than anyone south. Their leader almost begs to go headhunting again. And I like how they're being painted as, you don't fuck with the Northmen. They're kind of scary. They're wild.
Things are tough in the North. This is a complete sidebar, but it's sort of maybe not interesting, but I was thinking about how the whole like seasons last years and years and years thing is really not a part of this show so far. And it was a thing I had liked in the original books because it's like an additional explanation of like why civil war is so horrible, because like not only are you destroying each other, you're destroying the realm, and if you have a 20-year winner, you're done for. But I think we had kind of with these Northmen, like for those of us who kind of remember or know about stuff outside of the show, it's like, oh, it might already be winter where they're from. Like it's tough.
Oh wow, I haven't thought about that. It's a good point. So with Cole's existential, he's basically got a death wish at this point, I think. With his attack on the Riverland men, the Northmen, did you see him as villain, hero, something else now in the game? Does he seem more relatable now?
I was going to say, Larys had a speech about whinging that he gave to Aemon that Sir Criston might have stood to hear as well. Not really, but...
Yeah.
I mean, he still comes across as a pretty giant prick, like...
Okay, yeah, I thought so too.
You're not rooting for him, but you maybe understand him a little bit more.
I agreed, and I feel like I agree with that, Adam. And I think like they have done a good job of like, I don't necessarily like him. I think I understand where he's coming from, but I also think there's a deep selfishness in him, in the sense of the like, okay, you're going to get yourself killed, but you're getting all of these other people killed too.
Sure,
they don't exist for him outside of like an extension of his own. Whatever.
Right. That moment where he's like, I've only ever served wealthy people, essentially. And like you are offering me the same thing, but like You know, there's a path away from that where even if that path is violent, you're kind of like, yeah, get yours, that kind of thing. But he still is just like, in that selfishness, kind of dragging everybody down with him. And like, for what purpose? Which makes for great TV, because the nihilism taking over is having one pocket of that's not bad viewing.
It makes stuff like Alicent's brother splitting off of him like, yes, this does make sense. Like, he is, like, you should be leaving this guy. He wants to throw his life away.
Right.
Sir Gawain gives him the old, hey, I'm calling from Kentucky. I know you're the coach at Arkansas, but would you want to come on over? Because Sir Cole's like, I done that. Come on. It's a lateral move. I think the creators learned a lesson from last season where they showed us all of Daemon's nightmares. But this season we get none of Aemon's. We just see him waking up with the fever sweats. Those trips took up a lot of last season with Daemon.
I thought that was hilarious last season. I thought it was great that people complained about it. I was here for it.
I mean, I didn't mind, honestly. There's not a lot this show does that I really just am a stickler or pissed off about. I've just enjoyed it. I like being in the world.
Say, watching Aemon and Harrenhal and thinking of some of the themes there, and, you know, Aegon brings them up too. I'm like, how have we gone this whole time without referring to this show as Operation Hot Mother?
Alice is the stand-in for Hot Mother here for Aemon. She's becoming the mom he wanted before leaving for Harrenhal, and it certainly implies he's going to do her bidding whereas Uncle Daemon gave her the short shrift, kind of poo-pooed on her a little there. I'm not really going to give you Harrenhal. Come on.
Alice is pissed.
Yes, and she's going to use Aemon as much as she can. I'm going to tell you guys, Roy Wood Jr. has been one of the smartest, if not the best, maesters in any of these shows we've seen, the three. But no, the maester who works at King's Landing. He is risking his neck for both sides and seems to be improving both sides a little every time he gets involved. Make him hand. I know he's maester. You can't probably make him hand of the king, of the queen. But yeah, he's the smartest of the bunch.
There's a continuing theme around the King's Landing stuff that's good, where you have opposing forces that realize they can't fully destroy each other in the current moment. And like, it's good for everybody. And they even gesture to the other side and speak about them in private. Like this week, it was the former queen saying there is good, you know, there is good on the other side. There is, but the crown is going to crush, kind of thing. And so they're all kind of, there's very few characters in King's Landing completely sold out for their side.
By the way, the new lady on the council is a lady from House Frey. They mention it briefly. You got to catch it. That's notably Walder Frey's ancestor, I suppose, if you remember him.
She's the one that has the great line, right? Is it always like this?
Yeah.
She needs some catching up from the new master of coin, you know, that guy. They may as well be texting during Rhaenyra's staff meeting.
That made me laugh.
It's that rude.
Like, that really made me laugh.
They flat out call Masseria the whore within feet of the woman.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the story I told you, Donovan. That man is a son of a bitch. You know, just putting your hand up doesn't mean you didn't say it. The look that Matt Smith gives them here to STFU was, I thought, good stuff from Matt Smith, just doing acting without speaking. Love it. And then, of course, he does basically tell him to shut up. It's also why he's so good and why I'll have such deep heartbreak when Aemon kills him, I'm guessing.
If he goes, I'm not ready for him to go. He's a load-bearing part of this show for me.
Agreed.
Yeah, and kind of what we alluded to at the beginning of, like, is he too good at this role for the context of this narrative? Because he's right a lot of the time, you know? And, like, he is charismatic. Like, when they're like, oh, a little speech to the City Watch isn't going to help, and then he goes in and gives a speech and completely saves the day. Or he's right in most of his counsel to Rhaenyra. He's the badass who shows up. I mean, him cutting through everybody, going through to take King's Landing is like, how can you not root for this guy?
Yeah. You know, he's a liar anyway. Why not just have him at least pretend to listen to his wife and be like, yep, gonna do that. And then not go do it. The smart guy would say, "Got it, wife. You're the queen," and then just go give the speech anyway.
I mean, it's just part of his makeup, right? To just be like, well, I'm not, the old like when they go to Tracy on 30 Rock and give him all this stuff, and he goes, "I'm not going to do any of that." Just,
what a good analogy.
You got to lay it out there, and I think another redeeming thing about him beyond Matt Smith's great acting is he, through his visions and conversations with his brother, all this stuff, he is, I think, a true believer in like the end game of Fire and Ice. And like he understands the best thing he can do. Like, yes, he wants his family in a position of power, but like he's trying to move the pieces around the chessboard so that there's only one thing that matters in the end.
Yeah, he's bought in.
Yeah,
I think that's been made very well apparent.
That's how it seemed to me too. Like this felt like, why, to your point, Blaine, about why doesn't he just lie? Because it does feel like he's like, okay, he's a true believer. He has, because of that, like pledged his loyalty to Rhaenyra. But he's also like, because of who he is, he's like, well, I'm going to serve you, of course, but I'm going to serve you by looking out for your best interests, even if you don't understand what your best interests are,
Mm-hmm.
But I'm willing to believe him as like a big picture guy,
Oh, me too. I think that like, that's the reason that he's like, I'm serving you even if you don't know what your best interests are, because he is that big picture guy, because he's got and honestly, just because he is who he is, he's not a humble man.
Yeah.
I want to ask y'all about Massaria, whom I mentioned briefly. She goes to Alicent. She doesn't believe that it's her that's really drinking the medicine for herself. Is she on Alicent's side? Is she seeing both sides? Is she playing both sides is probably the best way to ask this question. She doesn't tell on them when they try to escape as maids later in the episode, though we may not see her immediately go tell. So what do you think about her? How are we supposed to take her?
I think we've got to let it play out some more, is how I think we're supposed to take her. I think I think it would almost be too easy to we'll see how it depends. I think it's almost too easy to believe that, like, if she's as experienced as she is, it's a little too easy to believe that she's like swayed by Alicent being like, don't tell on us and you'll have favor with the High Towers. You have to think that like she's a little bit further down the road in the game than that. Master of Whispers, that's a pretty tricky position. You kind of end up being on nobody's side.
She gets that from Alicent. Alicent also mentions the indignities women must endure in this land of Westeros. It's much like ours, sadly. That theme is almost a part of every scene Rhaenyra is involved in, where she's trying to lead or even have a council meeting. And it almost seems like a pretty decent course correction for the show Maine, Game of Thrones, when it existed.
Some people did not, and I think George R. R. Martin himself, I might be slandering the man, but I know he's not happy with this adaptation. But I loved like it kind of focusing in like, yes, it's the two families, but it is the two queens in many ways. And they're both in different positions, and they both have different kinds of power, but they're also like butting up against similar things. And the fact that they're both queens, they're both mothers, but they're one has a dragon and the other has, Matt Smith or Damon says, he says, I think Alicent is a born conspirator,
She's good at it. And I think that everybody that interacts with her, I don't know if they tell the actors this, but they always read as like being impressed by her, like her ability to wield essentially no power into getting what she wants, which for most of the season has been just trying to like smooth the waters for the people directly around her. So it's kind of like, she's not really antagonistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's different. It's different now because she's not, for example, she's trying to get out. It seems like her plan right now is to get out with what she believes may be her only surviving child. She's not even looking ahead to like link up with Ormond or anything. She's just like her only surviving child in King's Landing is what I should say.
Yeah, well, as far as she knows, it is.
Yeah, well, they That's true, because she doesn't know actually what's happened to her ward yet, or to her son, who is Ormond's ward. I suppose we do with the viewer. That's a good point, Blaine.
Not worth analysis, but there's a new Joffrey on the scene. He comes to Rhaenyra. She's asked for her son Joffrey, who would be king if anything happens to her. He's the last. Is he the last one left for her? If
I think
something were to
that
happen?
are there not? I say, aren't there two younger ones? Maybe one of them a boy that are hers and Daemon's son. But I think Joffrey is the last of the sons that she had with her. I can't remember his name, but her lover.
Well, he was a strong,
if I remember
his last
correctly.
name.
Yeah, the brown hair. I think the two with Daemon are both golden haired. If I remember, and I think they're supposed to be across the sea right now, with where Baela was supposed to go.
Ormond proves to be an asshole, but he's also brilliant. Hiring flea-bottom folk to kill Rhaenyra's watchmen or guards who, oh, by the way, are working for free. That's a smart piece of strategy. He probably doesn't know they're working for free, but still, to employ that, it's hard to trace back to him, though. They do. And I mean, I say it's hard. It's not incredibly hard, but still, there's some plausible deniability maybe. And that's not to mention holding up in a town that she wouldn't dare firebomb. She's going to have to send in the ground troops, as you mentioned, as the comparison to Vietnam, and, try to spare Darian, who's her son, who's the ward. I don't know if she'll want to spare him so that she can kill him in front of people. I don't know what she would want to do there, but it's basically all me saying, and Ormond's very smart.
Ormond's read the histories.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a flavor for the history and also has a penchant for hating smells.
Yeah.
Not sure how that could even play.
That's Chekhov's smelly gun.
Chekhov's cologne here.
Yeah.
And, speaking of Ormond, great to have him tell the story of Mara Martell and how Dorne doesn't bend the knee to the kingdom. And he doesn't answer young Darian if Mara is a hero or villain. I found that kind of interesting. Mara fought off the Targaryens and basically made Dorne a self-governing place up and through Game of Thrones. Speaking of telegraphing things that are definitely going to happen, Adam of Hull definitely hits on Baela. Got a little sweet spot for Baela already when he tells her if she gets married, we'll fly away in exile. And she likes that.
But first, they just got to get a little food.
But let's get you a little food, sweetie.
And then off they went on a nice little date.
Let's put a pin in that. We'll watch that.
It must be awesome to have so many hot relatives. Like, you just go from hot cousin to hot cousin.
No one's touching that, Donovan.
I'm not touching it, no. We're already an Alabama podcast. I mean, come on.
He's her uncle, right? Because she's Daemon's daughter. So she's the granddaughter of the sea snake. He's the sea snake's son. She would be he would be her uncle, I believe. Keeping it in the family.
Sylvia style felt bored to understand how everyone's related in the show at this point.
Take it from me, if they're macking, they're related.
Good one. My second favorite actor in this series is Tom Glenn Carney, who plays Aegon.
He's actually doing a good job.
I think he's killing it, man. He torments Aemon, but he doesn't know that he is, from afar. He doesn't even know much about what's going on with Aemon. And then Aemon torments Aegon, and they're both playing head games with one another without even being in each other's presence. I love that.
Well, I love the mother theme, too, where both of them believe that the other is their mother's favorite.
That's
both of them sincerely believe that, yeah.
One of the more elevated performances, I think, is what he's doing. He adds, there's this scene where he's sitting there and Larys is about to chew him out, but he hasn't quite done it yet. And he's got this bouncing leg of impatience and the shortened breaths of surprise and anger when Larry does dress him down. Watch, if you want to watch that scene again, watch how short his breaths get. It's like he said, you asshole, how dare you? But he can't, right? Because Larry says, right. It makes him his murdering of the bootman, the bootlicker man, it made it all that more satisfying to me to watch later. It's a classic Game of Thrones maneuver where they give you someone whom you don't like, You don't like them for a while. They're a shit character, and then they put them on the down and outs, and then you're having so much more fun with them, or you're at least kind of rooting for them. He's basically a flea bottom character at this point, and it makes me think that I wish he and Ulf could just hang out once. They both love to drink and revel.
I mean, Larys also being shown to have like some sort of backbone or moral compass to be like, not only even worse than like you were a bad king, you're a bad person. And like after listing out all the reasons why, that was great. And you talk about watching scenes again for maybe what wasn't obvious, as the dude is still being stabbed on the ground. You just see Larys in the background go,
Yeah.
Like, it was comedic.
Now I got to undo this or cover it, whatever. He's created work for me.
He is so I cannot remember the name of that actor, but I love the guy playing Larys. Like he's consistently, I don't know, fun is the word, but you're Matthew Needham. Sorry, I was just looking him up. Consistently just like a captivating character in whatever scene he's in. Like he's kind of funny and dry and droll, but also like, he's been set up enough that it's like the man is incredibly dangerous. Like he's a snake. He's so happy to play both sides.
Former master of whisperers.
He might be the only person in Westeros who could get away with talking to the king like that.
Yes.
I would say, especially because I think they've done a good job of Larys either knows what you want to hear or what you need to hear throughout the course of the series, and he will play things accordingly.
While we're on these scenes with Larys and King Aegon, former King Aegon, were you as surprised as Larys to see the Lannisters' appearance? I could have sworn he died at sea in the battle in the first episode. Of course, we know his brother's a wee bit dead.
Yeah. Well, we just never saw anything happen to him.
I suppose that was it, right?
Yeah.
That's much more. It's one of those, if you don't see the body in this type of show. Yeah. I want to talk about another scene specifically and how good it was. I think the scene between Rhaenyra and Daemon in the Sept was another sign that this show's doing really well.
Yeah.
It's well written. I thought that it was smart to set it in the Sept in order to accomplish two things. One, you can see how well written it is by having them speak Valyrian, or having to speak that and you read it. And two, it reminds us Rhaenyra's still pretty stung by their refusal to anoint her as queen or recognize her as queen. And she has that great line that's, she's just kind of scared, and it's something crouched, something formless that feels like it's going to get her. She can't even put her finger on what it is. She is the queen. She got what she wants, but something out there.
That was great. That was great writing. And the Daemon saying, you hear the wind blow through these high towers, but you think they're an omen, but it's just the wind.
Yeah.
Damn good. When I first watched that, I thought, that is good. And I did happen to catch it a second time, and that line really stuck out to me as well. It's kind of a really smart line from Daemon.
Two very poetic images there back to back, and just pure acting, having them do this pretty serious conversation in Valyrian. Mm-hmm. You think about how do you learn those lines and like how to emphasize, 'cause especially Matt Smith is like emphasizing very specific things in the Valyrian.
Yeah.
Which, it's not just like maybe in years past, like, they drop a line here or there, but this is like a very emotive conversation happening. Can you guys remember one that was that involved?
No. Because usually it's like that there's a little bit, but this is a back and forth.
Yeah.
It's one of those scenes where it's hard to credit the actor or the director, or maybe both. Surely the director, had the real English version in front of her and said, really emphasize the word blah or whatever. But I'm sure he knew it by then.
He even worked some comedy into some of the ways that he's doing things. And I'm always actors impress me that they can remember lines in their native language, much less however the hell they learned how to do this dialogue.
Since we're in spoilers, this is a bit of a spoiler for an upcoming episode, though it's not huge. It could be right or wrong. I saw at least 3 different people online say about Unbent and Unbroken, well, that was a nice table setting episode, or The one that was phrased the most interestingly was said, well, that was the calm before the storm, huh? So,
All right.
I suspect the next episode might have a little bang. Don't know why. They didn't say anything spoiler other than that. It does leave us with a couple of things. We got Cole's destitution, Damon discovering that the leadership of the City Watch are murdered, Alicent and Helena trapped in the walls of the Red Keep with a cat.
And a rat.
Those are some okay cliffhangers for
And
the
the
next
light and the lights out, so they're in the dark there too.
I mean, that's scary.
I
Yeah.
loved that scene where they're like, we should try this way. Oh, it's blocked. We'll just go back. We can't. The door is shut. Like, this universe obviously has always done like the frailty of existence at that point really well. But like, then she drops the light and it's like, okay, we're two of the wealthiest, most powerful people in this realm, and nobody knows that we're stuck in the wall.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
I suppose it does make sense to shut the door behind you so it doesn't look like you left or it'd be harder to catch you. I guess the door would kind of lock or be too heavy to push in that direction. I don't know.
The door opened into the passage, right? So if they pushed it shut, it'd be hard
Yes.
to pull it.
Yeah, you
You can't pry it. You can't pry it open. Yeah.
I think it's a good episode. Highly likely we'll return to it.
I thought this is just a note, but I wonder, we kind of almost, I think it was Adam said maybe there was some course correction in House of the Dragons. And I've been interested to see how many of the past episodes have been written and directed by women specifically. And I suspect that there is an attention being paid to aspects that make scenes like Rhaenyra in the Sept that much more impactful. So kudos to the writers too, and hopefully for whoever's in charge putting some new perspectives in there.
Agreed, and that may be why it's working so well.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
of that.
I like it, and I do feel like I just feel like they're doing some good things with the writing. It's Game of Thrones. It's not subtle, not all subtle at least, but there's some good stuff there.
But I'll praise the production for as long as I live. This looks great.
For sure.
All right, with that, we're going to move into the movie Warfare. It's also streaming on HBO Max. So this is the movie directed by both Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza. Garland's known for his work in directing Civil War, Men, Annihilation, and Ex Machina. Mendoza is not that well known. He's had some production credits, but it's Mendoza who was involved in the conflict that's recreated here. And it's almost recreated in real time. And I alluded to the big part of the story. It's not a mystery what this is about. That's not the spoiler part. It's a dangerous mission for a platoon of Navy SEALs in Iraq. Gets even more so dangerous because they get pinned in a house that they've taken over in the middle of, I forget the city.
Yeah, real place, real situation. The movie Ramadi. It was in Ramadi.
That's it.
Movie makes it clear right at the beginning that this movie is what the events are based on, the participants' memories more
That's
than
right.
more than anything else. It's based on their memories.
And in fact, co-director Ray Mendoza's character is Reservation Dogs actor young Pharaoh Wunate. He is on communications during most of this battle. And that's who Mendoza was in real life.
Yeah.
This movie almost works like a report, like a journal entry.
Like straightforward.
I'll probably refer to it a lot as a recreation and not as a movie because that's its goal.
You know what I thought was interesting? I like that idea. I think that this, you saying that it reads like a report or plays like a report, I think I don't have it quite stuck together in my brain yet, but I think that made sense of something I was thinking about. And I'm sure some people didn't like this, but that's how we don't really know anything about these characters until they're dropped in. Mm-hmm. All we see is who they are, and all we really need to know is that they're trying to stay alive. And I think that you saying that it's like a report, it's like, yes, you're brought right in, and it's like all you need to do is that these guys are trying to stay alive, and keep each other alive. Here's what happened.
It's a document, if you want to call it that too. I think it does a stellar job. The first 45 to 60 minutes had me hooked because of palpable tension, creating anxiety in me. And you knew something was going to happen at any minute. I know there's a lot of downtime where they're setting up and they're simply establishing where they're going to be in this house. And that takes up many minutes of screen time, longer than any movie would probably dedicate to it. But I like that because it allows you to get settled in, and you know that without a conflict in the literary sense, in the movie sense of the word, a conflict has to happen in order for there to be a movie. Well, you know what that's going to be most likely. So that helped to develop the tension that I think you want to feel, because if this is going to be a almost documentary, well, you have to feel what they were feeling to get the point.
The setting up and stuff too. Like I think sometimes like processes can be interesting. So I found that interesting, but it also reminded me, like, when I talk with my own brother who's in the military, he's in the National Guard now, but he was active duty. I just get this sense, and you kind of see it in, like, these are like very, very like professional, capable people they have a job to do and are there to do it, who are being given orders by, politicians who are not, that's me bringing something in for it. But it reminded me, like, when I talk with my brother about what he does, as much as he can say about it, or about his soldiers, like they're really professional, like they're smart, they're here to do a job. That process part reinforced it for me, that like these guys they're professionals.
Yeah, I'm with you. The process is interesting. It's a process I bet a certain percentage of us have no idea what it is or how to do it. And I'm with you. I thought that was interesting. And when I queued this up, I was really happy I started watching it, because I remembered pretty quickly, oh yeah, this is the movie that was sort of advertised as a pretty realistic account of what happened, or as realistic as maybe it could be.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, okay, that's what I was hoping it was. In fact, I will say that when it's at its most disturbing is when the movie switches to these 30 seconds of silence where you're looking at things from the drones, and all you hear are the communications between those people.
And it's scary because, like, you're being given the context of what you're seeing, whether it's like, oh, those little dots down there are soldiers running, or like, oh, those little dots down there are people converging to try and kill you,
Yeah. And it gives you that quiet, that eerie quiet, the eye in the sky that's always watching, versus the ear-splitting noise of death and chaos on the ground.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's the same kind of unreal feeling that we see. I think we get with drone footage in real life, where it just seems so divorced from the actual carnage unfolding.
Yeah, this movie was only 95 minutes. Which shocked me looking back. I felt like it was longer, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I feel like it exhausted me. I felt trapped I was in their shoes of the SEALs, and I was just eager for the other group of SEALs to come and help them get out. You knew at least some of them had to get out because it's told from the account. They say this at the very beginning on a black screen. This is told from the account of people who lived it as much as possible.
They definitely do a good job when they're trapped, basically, when they're stuck in that house. And they do a great job. Like, there's a book, Parade's End, by Ford Maddox Ford. He was a officer in the First World War. And the last book in the Parade's, or the third book in Parade's End, is entitled A Man Could Stand Up. And what it's referring to is the main character, Captain Teachin, said, thinking like, in a normal time, like, a man can stand up on a hill, but now if you stand up, you're going to get shot in the head and killed. And I think that this movie did a good job of that kind of transformation, where it's like, you can't even go up the stairs, you can't even go into that room, you can't even do whatever, because like war has utterly transformed the geography that you're in, And I think for me, they did a very good job of kind of making me feel that transformation. Like, you can't look through the window. Someone could shoot you in the head. A man could stand up, but not today.
It's very good. I didn't press you when you told me that this movie wasn't what I thought it was. I thought I'd save it for here.
Yeah.
And I'm betting that you and I both liked it a lot because there's no jingoism at play here.
that was kind of exactly it. And it doesn't turn into what the core, at least as I read it, the core tension of the movie, besides just surviving, is they're trying to get two of their badly injured comrades out of there. It's not really a movie about killing people, about killing the enemy. Presumably some other guys die, but it's not, but it's not really about them, like American soldiers killing. It's about American soldiers trying to save their friends
and survive themselves.
And survive themselves in a very tense and scary situation. And that surprised me. I thought there was going to be more of a battle as opposed to what we were given.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Mendoza and Garland choose not to even focus, isn't the right word, but look upon any of the Iraqis' deaths. I'm guessing that they, had to kill some of them. I don't even know that the camera really showed it much. You just assume.
I think that worked for me because it felt too from the perspective of the soldiers, like, we don't know who these people are. We don't know where they are. There's a couple times where they're shooting out the window. They're not really shooting at anybody. They're just trying to keep, if anyone's out there, keep their head down. Mm-hmm. That worked for me. I do, obviously, anything portraying war is complex, and the people on the other side, of course, are as human as the American soldiers. But I don't think that was a choice that was made to dehumanize. I think that was a choice made because we are, like it said at the beginning, this is from the memory of the soldiers, and so we are in the point of view of the American soldiers. There's another story to be told here from the men who fought the American stories, but that's not the story we're telling today.
Yeah. And you mentioned early on, we don't get the background of these men. That's for movies like American Sniper. Mm-hmm. That's for those kinds of movies. Mm-hmm. It's not a hero movie. It's not a high five movie. It's not a we made it out kind of movie. It's just a documentation. And it's one of those movies about war that's actually presented almost without comment. And by presenting it without comment, it does make, I think, an argument.
I always remember, and this is a quote of a quote, so I can't remember it, but in Roger Ebert's review of the movie Platoon, he quotes someone else who talks about like basically war movies kind of always break down because at a certain point it all seems kind of fun and exciting, and Roger Ebert was citing Platoon as like a movie that didn't do that, and I think that this movie accomplished that too, where like just from putting yourself in the shoe without by refusing to give us like a coherent narrative of like what is quote unquote like going on in the overall battle. I think it managed that trick where we're just with these guys who don't really have a good idea what's going on. They're doing their best. And some of them will go on to star in Beef.
Oh, Charles Melton. Fun. He's good.
But I think they made it was just side note. I get such face blindness with everyone in uniforms, but it was fun to see like, okay, there's Cosmo Jarvis. There's the cast was good, but I really think that that was what I was. I think one of the ways it surprised me too, and that's kind of what I was thinking of when I said that is, sometimes war movies seem like violent laser tag, just a sport, whereas this did not have that feel at all.
Yeah, that was his goal. Is here's what it's like.
Which thumbs up. That's a compliment.
Same here.
Yeah.
Well, how fascinating was it? I don't even know what the mission was. Like we know the town.
The barest bones is that they were supporting another unit, and we don't really know more than that.
And that's fine because that helps in seeing its goal. I thought the performances were good. You mentioned Charles Melton there. Top to bottom, Joseph Quinn in agony. Will Poulter actively trying to fight the onset of PTSD was pretty harrowing.
Another choice that the movie made that I think was good, I think this is very sensitive, was the continual reminder that there's a family trapped in here with them. Mm-hmm. And
they did not ignore that.
That was an additional reminder, as the house is being destroyed by the combat, like the pain of the people who live there. I really thought they did a good, and it was it was a scary situation too, because you could see how, you've got soldiers trying to keep an eye on these families who don't speak each other's language. The soldiers don't want to hurt anyone, but it's getting increasingly desperate. And people have been, the battle's been going on. Their heads have had concussions happen. You can see how something could have really broken away. But I thought they did that really well, and I thought to almost end on a picture that we're supposed to understand is those families helps to remind us that like there was more happening there than just those soldiers trying to survive, right? Like it's like this geopolitical tragedy just exploded on everyone's head there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's powerful. It's a pretty good movie.
I was surprised. Not rah-rah, not jingoistic, intense, respectful of the men. Without, I don't feel like anyone here is made to be a Superman. Just kind of normal guys who have trained a lot and are trying to do the best they can. And there's some real. I remember something Phil Clay once said about. Like the writer of Redeployment, who's an Iraq War veteran, just talking about how he realized once when he was out and about, he's like, I couldn't walk down that, like he can see a street. He's like, I couldn't go and walk down that street because if he was away from the other soldiers and everything. And I think that is part of what this movie does, that transformation of like, I couldn't walk down that street. I couldn't go there. Like if I go outside, I could be destroyed. Like the transformation of the world that we live in through combat. Very, very harrowing for sure.
Yeah. And I think we need these movies, books, documentations of what that's like if there's been a recent war.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's an important, obviously there are politicians who make these decisions, but at least in theory, this is reflecting the will of the electorate, the will of the governed. And I think, it's a serious and sobering thing to ask somebody to risk themselves mentally, morally, spiritually, and physically in a way that we ask our soldiers, or we ask of our soldiers.
Yeah, even if you're callous enough to think it's just money, well, how's your money. This is your money being spent.
How's your money being spent? Yep.
Yeah. But it's a lot more than that. So if you make that decision, that heavy, crucial decision to put people on the ground in war or otherwise, then this, you probably need to see what that's like as much as you can, I think.
Yeah.
The movie does a good job of that. Well, I think that's it for us. And we'll remind you, if your traveling companion says you're a horrible person, it doesn't mean you can't stab your bully. Have a good week, everyone.